Hey there, welcome to my channel. There was once a town where no one aged. Children remained children. The old never grew older. Time was frozen. At the heart of the town stood a clock tower. Its hands never moved, yet its chimes echoed each night. The people had stopped asking why. They simply lived inside the stillness. But one boy, Elias, asked questions. He wanted to know why the world slept while the tower sang. And one night, he climbed it. Inside, he found the Clockmaker, an old man bent over gears that never turned, surrounded by hourglasses with sand that never fell. The Clockmaker looked up. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered. But Elias only asked, "Why is the world frozen?" The man sighed. "Because time was too cruel, so I locked it away." Elias stood silent. A life without endings sounded safe, like a sheltered, tranquil sea, but it also meant nothing ever began. The boy saw a lever by the great gears, dusty, untouched. If he pulled it, the world would move again, and everything would change. The Clockmaker shook his head. "You don't understand. To start time is to allow loss." But Elias whispered, "Without time, we cannot live." And he pulled the lever. The tower roared, the gears spun, the hourglasses bled sand. And outside, the world breathed. Children grew in seconds. The old felt their age return. The frozen wind began to flow again. The Clockmaker wept. He knew the boy was right. Life was fragile, but in its fragility, it was beautiful. And for the first time in centuries, the sun rose. Thank you so much for listening. Now this story comes from an upcoming collection of mine called The 12 Houses of Time. Each chapter takes place in a different realm where time operates in its own unique way. This story in particular has been percolating in my mind for years. It's one of those ideas that refuses to let go of you until you write it down. When I finally did, this is what came out. Now, if you're a fan of fairy tales or folk tales, you might notice a few familiar elements here. The idea of time as something that can be stopped or manipulated. The figure of the mysterious old man who holds the secrets of the universe. The magical tower which serves as a kind of portal to other realms. All of these are staples of traditional storytelling. In fact, the fairy tale tradition goes back hundreds of years, if not thousands. Some scholars believe that fairy tales are actually a form of oral history, a way of preserving cultural knowledge and values through stories that are told and retold over the generations. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. What I really want to talk about today is how this story came together, the creative process behind the Clockmaker's secret. When I sit down to write, I usually have a few things in mind. What kind of mood am I going for? What themes do I want to explore? What kind of characters do I want to bring to life? In the case of the Clockmaker's secret, I knew I wanted to write a story about time. I've always been fascinated by this concept and how it shapes our lives. We're constantly aware of the passage of time, the ticking clock that seems to be driving us forward. But at the same time, time is also something we can't really understand or control. It's a mystery that baffles even the greatest minds. I also knew I wanted to write a story that had a sense of wonder and magic, something that would transport the reader to another world, another time. I love stories like that, the ones that allow me to escape reality for a while and immerse myself in something new and exciting. That's why I was drawn to the idea of a town where time stood still, a place where the rules of the universe were different. How would the people there live? How would they think? How would they feel? These were the kinds of questions that kept me up at night as I pondered the possibilities. Then there were the characters. I wanted to create characters that were relatable and realistic, despite the fantastical setting. I wanted readers to care about them, to root for them, even if they didn't always make the best choices. And then there was the central question that drove the plot forward. Why was time frozen in this town? What was the secret behind the Clockmaker's actions? I wanted to keep readers guessing until the very end. I wanted to surprise them with a twist they didn't see coming. Bringing it all together was a matter of plotting out the story, figuring out how the pieces fit together, how the characters interacted with each other and with their environment. It was a process of trial and error, of writing and rewriting, of adding and subtracting details until I had a story that I was happy with. It took months, maybe even years, but in the end, I think it was worth it. So what do I hope readers take away from The Clockmaker's Secret? Well, I hope they're entertained, of course. I hope they enjoy the story and the characters. But I also hope they think about the deeper themes that I was trying to explore. The nature of time, the meaning of life, the importance of change. We're all creatures of habit. We like to think we're in control of our lives, but the truth is we're all just floating along the currents of time. Sometimes it feels like we're making progress, moving forward toward something better. And sometimes it feels like we're just stuck in a rut, repeating the same mistakes over and over again. But no matter what, time keeps ticking away. So we need to make the most of it. We need to cherish the moments that we have and make sure we don't waste them. That's what I think this story is about. It's about appreciating the preciousness of life and the beauty of change, even when it can be scary or painful. As writers, we have the opportunity to explore these kinds of themes in our stories. We can create worlds and characters that challenge our readers to think about life in new ways. And who knows, maybe we can even inspire them to make positive changes in their own lives. If you enjoyed this story and would like to support my work, please consider pre-ordering a copy of The 12 Houses of Time, which will be released later this year. The book is available in both hardcover and ebook formats. It also helps out tremendously if you share this video around.